All right, aloha. Welcome to day eight. Day eight, we will be doing just a brief micro hit and then a discussion on practice in daily life. So, kind of looking at different ways that we can implement these practices, this meditations in our daily life and kind of incorporate it into more um, aspects of our day, week, month, year, with the idea of adding those minutes of practice over time, because it's that minutes of mindfulness practice over time that really has the long-term effects that we're looking for. But it's not always about that either. You can use these different practices that we're going to be learning to enhance or work with uh, your day-to-day activities, right? Whether that's dealing with a challenge or enjoying some activity and maximizing the fulfillment and the richness of that activity. So that's just going to be a bit of the discussion and some guided meditation coming on for day eight. We'll see you on the other side. All right, wherever you're at, I invite you to stretch up and settle into your position. That phrase, that turn of phrase, is borrowed from Unified Mindfulness and Shinzen Young, the creator of the system. So when you hear me say that, um, he gets all the credit for it. So we'll stretch up, we'll settle in. If as usual, if possible, stay upright. And if that's not available to you, you just do the best you can. So we're just going to do a brief meditation here at the top of the video, and then we're going to have a little discussion. So with that in mind, I invite you to get started on a see, hear, feel meditation. And you can do this with your eyes open, looking out into your office or living room or whatever environment you're in if you're outside. Or if you like, I'm going to go ahead and close my eyes for this one and maybe keep that internal side of sight, of see available. So let's get started. And as usual, with this technique, you just notice where your attention goes first. What does it kind of land on, other than my voice, of course? We just allow that to be in the background, narrating, guiding. Maybe you have a ringing in the ears or somebody making noise somewhere, dog barking, or maybe you're drawn to a visual field, internal, external, or maybe it's just a physical sensation that draws your attention right out of the gate. Whatever it is, let's place 100% of our attention on that experience, just soaking into it, exploring it, seeing it, hearing it, or feeling it to the best of our abilities. If you like using the labels, you can label at this point what category it's in, see, hear, or feel. And then we'll just release it from that and allow your attention to free float into any of the three sensory categories, whichever draws your attention. If there's something specific, something to see, hear, or feel. And just repeat the process. Soak into it, explore it, label it sense category. And after a while, just release it. and see where your attention goes next. Repeat the process at your own pace. There's a lot going on. You don't have to catch everything, all categories. You just pick one and dial in on it. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. So wherever you're at, just release your attention from that object of focus. Come back to me up here. Um, so that was just a brief, I don't know whether that was like anywhere from 3 to 5 minute meditation there. So that would we could refer to as a micro hit, at least in unified mindfulness. The idea is to just have a couple terms for us to um, allocate to different kinds of meditation so that we can use it kind of for our planning purposes and also in discussions if we're talking with someone um, about our practice. So we like to do threes in the UM system. So think of it as micro hits can be the first kind of allocation of mindfulness. A micro hit is just any practice like we just did, where 100% of your attention, or the majority of your attention, is on a technique. In this case, it was see, hear, feel. And it was for like less than 10 minutes. So right around that 10 minutes. So those are micro hits. And this will come into play in a little bit and why we're giving them kind of three different designations. It's just for thinking about it and planning purposes, scheduling purposes. So that's a micro hit. That's something that you can do anytime, anywhere, anywhere from, 0 to 10 minutes. I like to do micro hits before and after like um, challenging events, like a stressful meeting or some other kind of stressful event that happens. You can do those. Um, you can also do them before and after positive events. Or even do a micro hit during some kind of positive activity to help kind of enrich your connection to it or the experience itself. So these brief little micro hits you can sprinkle throughout the day. And remember, I was talking about it's meeting or minutes over a lifetime. So sprinkling in a few minutes here, a few minutes there can really add up day after day after day after day. So micro hit. Uh, Formal practice is another type or another category. Formal practice is just 10 minutes or more of a practice where the majority of your attention is on the technique. So anytime, 10 minutes or more of a see, hear, feel is your designated technique and you're putting all or the majority of your attention on that technique, we'd call it a formal practice. And it doesn't have to be like seated in a lotus position, formal sitting in your, office. It just is 10 minutes or more. So if you go on a, 45-minute walk and you specifically designate, 10, 15 minutes of that you're doing the see, hear, feel while on your walk, well, that'd be considered a formal a period of practice. So there's that formal period of practice over 10 minutes, micro hits under 10 minutes. And then the third type of practice, just for these planning and communication purposes, is background practice. And this one's available to you most of the time. So background practice is just like it sounds. It's where part of your attention is in your foreground dealing with your day-to-day activities, but then part of your attention is also in the background, maybe doing some see, hear, feel, right? So you're engaging with somebody or you're engaging with some activity, and the majority of your attention is on the activity, but you're kind of checking in with the body. How's this making me feel? Where else am I hearing? You can do this kind of see, hear, feel technique subtly in the background while you're engaging in another activity. And it can be a spectrum, it can be a 20% background practice, 80% activity, or flip it, it can be any spectrum of that range from 0 to 100% to where a certain percentage of your attention is on your foreground activity, your life activity, and then a certain percentage of it is doing this kind of mental activity in the background, uh, see, hear, feel. And it's not just see, hear, feel, but you can do a lot of these different techniques that we'll be learning, including the 4 techniques we're learning over the 30-day challenge. So, micro hits, formal practice, and background practice. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to be successful in your practice. And like anything, it takes some commitment, some planning, and some effort. So maybe a little mind time and thinking about this, the when, where, and how you can implement these micro hits, formal practices, and background um, strategies into your daily life, daily, weekly, monthly, annually, and over a lifetime. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go over a few common practice times and themes that are available to you and that you can do them. Okay. Um, we can practice while exercising, eating, driving, listening to music, at shows or at other live events. That might be a good time for uh, like formal practice, background practice, or micro hits. It's all situational, right? You can do it while waiting in line at the grocery store or any line anywhere, waiting for your computer to boot. Maybe you have to do a restart and it's going to take 5 minutes. Instead of scrolling on your phone, you can just do a 5 minute little micro hit. It works. Pumping gas. I've actually done this at Costco. I'm sitting there pumping gas and I'm looking up at Haleakala and there's some palm trees swaying and it's just a beautiful day and you really can get kind of drawn into the see, hear, feel of that moment. Walking down a hall from place to place. You can even do micro hits while you're passively listening to music or people speaking or something of that scenario. Good times to do background practices uh, when you're with family, friends, partners, coworkers, clients, familiar faces, strangers, pets, community groups. You can always be checking in, on the see, hear, feel aspect of that, or as we'll learn, feel rest or feel good or feel flow. You can check in all these techniques and um, drop in and out of them kind of as you're in these connection times with others. And it can be a very interesting exploration um, and a bit of self-awareness of how this activation of certain interactions are. And ultimately can help give you a little agency regarding those. So just real quick, rolling through a few more. Bookending, I mentioned that earlier. Bookending is like I'll do a micro hit before a stressful event or something I know that is going to be challenging. I can kind of set the tone, do a feel rest maybe, and calm myself down in activity that I know that's going to elevate, energize, or have some other kind of challenging element to it. And then at the end of it, I'll do another feel rest to kind of bring it back down and rein things in again. So like, um, having a difficult conversation, uh, facing or thinking about a difficult or challenging situation. If you're in the middle of an argument, it can be good to check in, see, oh, how's this all happening? How's this happening internally? And ultimately, you may end up having a little more space from those emotions and a little more agency and not have as much reactivity. So you can also do these micro hits background practices at simple physical times like brushing your teeth, I do it washing dishes a lot. We don't have a dishwasher here in Maui, so we do all our own dishes by hand. It's a great time to practice. Instead of sitting there, ruminating while you're doing dishes for the fourth time that day, uh, you can put it to use and do a practice, and you're actually adding those minutes over your lifetime that's going to have those benefits. So, um, yeah, and even watching movies, watching TV. Watching the sunset, whatever it is, they're all opportunities. And you might think, well, hey, why do I want to try and sprinkle in these things and do mindfulness with all these activities? And ultimately, it's been my experience that it enriches activities and it enriches my self-awareness and ultimately agency through this process. And over time, you develop a kind of an awareness more often than not of the see, hear, feel of your sensory experience, and less on autopilot, if that makes any sense. So just remember, I'm throwing a couple ideas and strategies out there. You can do all these techniques we're going to be learning, micro hits, formal practice or background practice, sprinkle them throughout your day, different events. I would suggest maybe if you got a post-it or something and do some brainstorming on your own. Think of activities, think of times, and then make a commitment. It's always we can always be a lot more consistent if we make a commitment to ourselves. And it really helps to commit to like a certain time of day at the same time. So every time I lunchtime, or when you first wake up in the morning, or right before bed, or these kind of consistent times, if possible. I know we all got busy, crazy schedules. So that's why I offer all these other options, because sometimes it's hard to make those commitments. Oh, I didn't get in my morning session, but you know what? At lunch, I'm going to go do 10 minutes out in the car or on a walk, or while I'm shopping for my groceries and grabbing my lunch. So it's all available, it's all the time, and it's all good. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow. Aloha.